Hey, I'm back. So if you looked at that other video, first time ever, I do these Facebook Lives on my phone and it tells me that I needed to twist my phone around. So anyway, you can look at the outtake of me staring at the phone and it not working. So here I am back. Welcome to my weekly Facebook Live. I'm Candy Motzek. I'm a coach and I coach coaches and online entrepreneurs how to get over their mind drama so that they can get stuff done and create that coaching practice or that business that they're just so eager to make. Today we're talking about a super common topic, imposter syndrome. And many of you will have heard about imposter syndrome before, but you know, it is an insidious thing. And the more we talk about it, the better off we are, because then the more we can kind of diffuse it, and that will allow you to get on with doing all the things that you're dreaming of doing and making that positive impact that you really want to make. So I've got some notes, I have some quotes, so some of it you'll see me looking at you and other times I'm going to look at my screen. But let me just start by saying, so what exactly is imposter syndrome? So lots of times you may have heard it called fraud complex or I feel like a fake. When I have seen imposter syndrome, and I've experienced it too, it's that feeling like everybody else is gonna find out that I am a fake, that I've been faking it all this time, and it's only just a matter of time before they find out and call me on my BS and say, hey, you're not really doing that great of a job. So that's how it often shows up. It shows up a lot when you have got a new promotion, for example, or maybe you've been accepted to a great program at university, you've submitted your thesis, you're doing a presentation, you're opening up a new office, you're opening a new business, and you've had some recognition that, hey, this is going good, like when you get a new promotion, or when you finally get that degree that you've been working at, and you're standing up on the podium, or you're sitting at that table, at that boardroom table, and you're looking around and you're thinking, I don't really belong here. Everybody else has got their crap together and I'm just faking it and I don't belong here. And so then you hold yourself back and you stay quiet and you don't share your opinions. You don't tell us some different ideas that are maybe mulling around in your head. And you do that because you assume that everybody else already knows it and that what you were going to say is not that big of a deal. But I'm telling you, you're holding back ideas and opinions that we need to hear. Even if we've heard something similar, the way you say it is going to be different because you've had your whole life experience. And so maybe we've heard the same thing, but we hear it in a different way because we hear it from you. So let me tell you a little bit more. I told you today is a day of notes and just making sure that I covered everything. So this is the kind of thing that you would hear in your own mind when you're suffering from imposter syndrome. They must have made a mistake. Sometimes you might even hide your achievements. You might have done something and then you just don't tell anybody because you decide, you know what, it's not that big of a deal. I don't need to tell anybody about that. And I want to tell you a little story. So this is a perfect example of imposter syndrome and how it has shown up in my own life. So you see this book. I wrote this book because I know I can help coaches get clients and build a thriving business so that they can have that impact on the world. And you know what I did? I worked hard on this book. And then I made sure all the editing was done right. I worked with a great formatter and there's somebody who designed the cover, and I put it on Amazon, and I never told anybody that I had written this book. This is a book that can help people. And here's me thinking, you know what, it wasn't any big deal after all. So there's a perfect example of imposter syndrome at work. What you also can't see is, maybe you can see it. Nope, we're in a different way. up behind me here, if you look at some of my other videos, that's another book that I wrote that I didn't tell anybody about. It's a book for people who want to try life coaching, but have never had a coach, and they're just not sure what it's about. So it's 31 days of helping people in their personal development. Did I tell people about that book? No, didn't tell them about that either. So it's a perfect example of somebody, me in this case. I created something, I worked hard at something, and then when it was finished, I decided in my own mind, in my own mind drama, hey, it's no big deal. That wasn't any big deal that you did those things. And then when people find out that I've written books, or they read the book, they go, hey, wait a minute, this is really, really helpful. And so I'm just calling myself on my own drama, and I'm telling you this because I bet if you're watching this about imposter syndrome, you probably also have done something similar. Like, back to my notes. So, people who feel like they don't belong, and here's what happens often is, and I wrote this down because I really wanted to get this across to you. Lots of times, people who are high achievers, people who accomplish a lot, have a real skill or talent, we decide in our own head that everyone else has exactly that same skill or talent. And listen, we know right away, we know at the logical level that that's not true. For example, if you're an artist and you are wonderful with watercolor, you somehow assume that everybody else can capture that same emotion, capture that same feeling. And there's countless people who can't draw, who can't paint. And then there are others who are artists, but maybe sculpture is their medium. So right away, you take a talent that you have and you decide that it's no big deal, and you assume everybody else has that talent too. So there's this thing about comparing yourself to others. And when you compare yourself to others, then you think, well, everybody else has that. And so what I'm doing is no big deal, or it's worse, or I didn't do as good of a job as I potentially could. So we have a talent, we do something, and then in our imagination, we decide that somebody else can also do exactly what we do. And it's just not true, right? So kind of think about that. Now let me read these things to you because I think these are amazing. Amazing and sort of hilarious and sort of sad all at the same time. So here we go. Albert Einstein, guessing you know who he is, he called himself an involuntary swindler. And he thought that his work didn't deserve the attention that it got. There's somebody who suffered from imposter syndrome. Maya Angelou, another person I'm sure you've heard of as well, she said, I've written 11 books. This was much earlier in her career. And each time I think to myself, uh-oh, they're going to find out now that I've been faking it all this time. I got 3 more quotes for you that I just think are so interesting. Okay, here we go. Jodie Foster, she said, when I won the Oscar, I thought it was a fluke. And I thought that everybody would find out, and then they'd take it back. Somebody would come to my house and knock on the front door and say, excuse me, we meant to give that to somebody else. And then finally, Renee Zellweger. Sometimes she says, I wake up at night and go, oh my God, oh damn, here we go again. What were they thinking? They gave me this role. Don't they know I'm faking it? So, 4 examples of millions and millions of people who have been through this world, who are sometimes still alive, who are sometimes gone, and they have talent. I've purposefully focused on the people that have that public talent, just to show you that it doesn't matter how far along the journey that you are, you can still suffer from imposter syndrome. So when you suffer from imposter syndrome, it's not an illness. It's not anything wrong with you. More than 3/4 of the people in the world suffer from this feeling like they're faking it at some point or another. That's a lot of people, right? And so when you do, what happens is that maybe you're sitting in that meeting and you have an interesting thought and then you stifle yourself. Or maybe you had a great idea for how to coach those particular clients. And then you think, who am I to think up a new way of doing that? Or maybe you had an idea for just a neat, fun thing to do this weekend with your kids and with a group of their friends. And then you go, nobody will really want to do that. Now, when we stifle ourselves, when we stay quiet, when we don't share our opinion, when we don't share our ideas, when we don't put our work out into the world, we think that it's because it's no big deal. And in fact, what happens is that the world loses out. The world loses out on that gift that you could have created. So the stakes are high on this one, right? And I know I'm smiling because I really want you to feel this, but really just settle into that for a minute and think, my God, maybe that idea that somebody had could have solved world hunger, could have created less violence in our schools, could have eliminated bullying, could have what, right? We don't know. But people are having amazing ideas and then they just zip it. They don't share it. They decide before they share it that it's no big deal. So I've given you some examples of people who suffer from imposter syndrome. You know that I have done it before too, and I don't always suffer from imposter syndrome, but sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. And my guess is that you're probably kind of similar. It's not something that is with you every minute of every day, but it does show up from time to time. So what do we do about it? That's the thing. Let me give you 3 tips on what to do about it. So the first is to realize that imposter syndrome is super common. It is a very, very common thing. More than 75% of the people who have achieved, oftentimes these are high achievers that we're talking about, they have suffered from imposter syndrome at some point, if not frequently. So that means that if you're sitting at a conference and you're looking at a panel of a group of people that have been invited up on the stage to talk, maybe there's 10 of them. That means that 7 or 8 of them are feeling like frauds as they're sitting on the stage right now. Or maybe you're in that meeting room, you're at that table, the table of decision makers, and there's 10 people around the table. More than likely, 7 of them have felt like fakes before. They might even feel like fakes right now. So you're in good company. And this is what happens, is that we feel that self-doubt and then we isolate. We hide from it. We don't tell anybody. So the first thing is know that it is common. The second is that when you hide that self-doubt, you actually perpetuate it. So you think about this. Maybe you're in a meeting of 10 people and you're talking, something new is happening. It's something different. There's going to be some changes made and there's some great ideas that have been put out. 7 of those people that have put out those great ideas or maybe done a presentation on their piece, they may be feeling like fakes as well. So each of them are sitting there feeling like imposters, feeling like frauds, and they're in their own mind. They've isolated themselves in their own self-doubt because they've assumed, and you've probably done this too, right? Assumed that because they're a fraud, everybody else is totally valid, everybody else is totally confident. So do you see what happens? You have this feeling and then you isolate yourself. So what do? Now that you know that it's so common, choose to share your feeling of self-doubt with someone that you trust. Even better if you share it with someone that's in the same arena that you're in. at that meeting or on the panel or at a conference or in a sales presentation, anything. Choose to share that feeling of self-doubt with somebody that you trust, maybe somebody that's sitting beside you. And in that sharing, you'll diffuse a lot of it. You're not going to eliminate it, but you can make a big difference, because then when you're feeling a little bit more connected instead of isolated, you feel a little bit more safe and secure. And your brain is going to allow you to maybe speak up and give your idea too. And that's exactly what we need. And then people will probably recognize your idea as something wonderful, or they might not, and it's okay. That makes it okay to share. So that's the second thing. First is know it's common. The second thing, share it with somebody that you trust. The third is to get out of your own head. So instead of isolating and looking in the mirror and thinking, oh my gosh, I'm feeling so self-conscious, I don't know, I must be a real fake, I must be a real fraud. Instead of thinking that, get out of your own head and think, what have I done that could provide value? What have I done that can help people? What have I created that actually has made a difference? So when you're not focusing on your own head and your own self-doubts, and you're focusing on those people that you could help, it is going to get rid of so much of your worry. Because imposter syndrome is how you feel about yourself. It's nothing to do with the truth. It may be true, it may be not so true, it might even be false. But it's how you're thinking of yourself. Everything is wrapped around you. So get out of your own mind and get out and into the game. Get into the place where you're thinking of the other people, those people that you were wanting to help, and why you did that work in the first place. So if you've written a book, or you've written a short story, or you've written some blog posts, or you're ready to go on Facebook Live next, instead of worrying about whether you're going to feel like a fake, think about your message and what those people need to hear and how you can best help them. So that's my Facebook Live for today. I hope you find it useful, and comment below. I'd love to hear from you. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.